When you look at the household survey and dig into cannabis use disorder or marijuana use disorder, we have 20.6 million individuals have a diagnosable marijuana use disorder. There's also a study that came out from JAMA Psychiatry that I think is important to pay attention to, that 3 out of 10 people who use cannabis have a cannabis use disorder. And yet we have some pretty alarming or concerning myths that circulate that you can't become addicted to marijuana or cannabis, that there's no such thing as a marijuana use disorder, when there really are millions of individuals here in the US who have a diagnosable marijuana use disorder and in many cases are seeking treatment and unable to be connected to that. In terms of how a marijuana use disorder is diagnosed, this is the criteria in the DSM-5, includes using more cannabis than you intended, a desire to cut down but not being able to, excessive time spent acquiring cannabis, using cannabis, or recovering from its effects, persistent cravings for marijuana or cannabis use despite known consequences like neglect of social obligations or social or family problems, giving up important social, work, employment, or recreational activities, continued use despite physical harm or injuries, continued use despite physical or psychological problems, building a tolerance, meaning needing more cannabis for the same effects, and withdrawal symptoms when not using cannabis. Another 2017 report from the National Academies of Sciences, Engineering, and Medicine brought together clinicians and researchers in public health. Some of the main findings were that cannabis impairs the performance and domains of learning, memory, and attention. That use during adolescence is related to impairments in academic achievement, education, employment, income, and your relationships. And then also, and very alarmingly, that cannabis use increases the risk of developing schizophrenia and other psychoses. The higher the use, the greater the risk. Cannabis use has been linked to a higher risk of heart attack and heart disease. The study was published in the Journal of American College of Cardiology, found that those who use cannabis are 4 times more likely to experience a stroke, 3 times more likely to experience major adverse cardiovascular events, and twice as likely to experience heart failure. Now, I want to break that down very quickly. The study found that there is a 400% increase in stroke for individuals with using cannabis, a 300% increase in experience a major adverse cardiovascular event like a heart attack, and 200% increase in heart failure. In individuals at higher risk, cannabis use can interfere with brain development and may contribute to conditions such as schizophrenia, a serious mental illness marked by persistent hallucinations, delusions, and paranoia. A Finnish study of 18,000 people with cannabis-induced psychosis found that nearly half were later diagnosed with schizophrenia. Additional research shows that regular use, particularly of high-potency cannabis, can increase the risk of developing schizophrenia by up to 4-fold, a relationship often compared to that between high cholesterol and heart disease. Findings from a study at Yale further support this connection, with more than 75% of patients in one study experiencing early schizophrenia reported a history of cannabis use. Now, another study that came out showed that cannabis use is associated with an increase for suicide risk, even controlling for depression. So the large systematic review was published in Drug and Alcohol Dependence, and it shows that cannabis use was associated with an increased risk of suicidal ideation and suicide attempts, even when controlling for depression. And among adolescents, cannabis use was linked to a 1.85 times higher likelihood of attempting suicide. And for adults, the risk of suicidal thoughts was almost doubled. Studies have shown that fetal exposure to cannabis is associated with negative outcomes related to fetal growth, low birth weight, and preterm delivery. The other piece that we have seen effects on male fertility. In particular, studies show that cannabis can reduce your sperm count and your concentration, change sperm motility and morphology, and change your hormone levels. The science in this space is pretty conclusive, and lots of different studies have been published, and yet not a lot of awareness among family, caregiver, and general community about some of these risk factors.